We all know the drill, right? Feeling a bit blah. Someone inevitably says, oh, well, just drink more water.
Yeah, it's practically the first piece of health advice you get, a real knee-jerk reaction.
Totally. But have you ever actually stopped to think if all that water you're gulping down is, well, the same?
It's funny, we rarely do. Water just seems so basic, so uniform.
Hmm.
But, when you actually look closer at the different types we drink every day, the fizzy stuff, the heated kind, there are some surprising differences.
Exactly, which is why today this isn't just about, drink more water. We're doing a deep dive into drinking smarter.
Right.
We've pulled together some info to explore three really common types:
Mm-hmm.
sparkling water, good old boiled water, and mineral water.
And the aim is to really get into the nitty-gritty. What actually sets them apart? What are the pros and cons, really?
And maybe the most practical bit, when could choosing one type over another actually give you a bit of an edge for your health?
Think of this as your quick guide to becoming a bit more water savvy.
Yeah, a hydration whiz. By the end, you'll have some hopefully unexpected insights and tips to really optimize your daily water intake. Okay, let's dive in. Starting with the one with a bit of fizz sparkling water.
Okay, so at its core, sparkling water is just regular water that's had carbon dioxide gas pushed into it.
That's what gives it the bubbles.
Yeah,
And that little tingle.
exactly. And it's worth knowing this carbonation can happen naturally, like at the source,
Oh, interesting.
or it can be added artificially later on during bottling.
Right. And for a lot of people, myself included sometimes, it's a great swap for sugary sodas.
Definitely. We know those aren't great. Sparkling water is refreshing, and there's even some suggestion it might help with digestion a bit.
And plus, sometimes the bubbles just make drinking water feel a bit more fun, more
Yeah.
appealing.
Absolutely, that counts. Those are real positives. But there are a couple of the things to keep in mind on the flip side.
Okay.
For some folks, that carbonation can lead to feeling bloated or a bit gassy.
Fair enough.
And also, because of that CO2, sparkling water is a little bit more acidic than still water.
Oh, okay.
And over the long haul, that slight acidity could potentially, impact your tooth enamel.
That's a really important point about teeth. But basically, if we're talking plain, unsweetened sparkling water,
Mm.
it's still hydrating you, right?
Yeah.
Does the job.
Oh, absolutely. As long as there are no hidden sugars or artificial sweeteners in there, it hydrates just as well as still water.
Good.
So if the fizz helped you drink more overall, that's definitely a win. Okay, let's switch gears. Something a bit more traditional. Boiled water.
Ah, yes, the classic. Heated to 100 Celsius and bam, purified water. Seems pretty simple.
It is straightforward, and it's been a trusted purification method for ages. Boiling kills off harmful bacteria, viruses, parasites.
The nasty stuff.
Exactly. So it's a really valuable chemical-free way to make water safe, especially if you're not sure about the quality.
Like camping or maybe traveling somewhere.
Precisely. Or in emergencies. It's a fundamental practice, honestly. It gets rid of those waterborne pathogens, which can be, well, life-saving.
So super safe, big tick there. But I always hear it tastes a bit flat. Why is that?
Yeah, that's a common thing. Boiling drives out dissolved gases, including oxygen, from the water.
Okay.
And it can also reduce some of the volatile compounds that give water its natural taste. Plus, some minerals might become less noticeable. All contributes to that flat feeling.
Interesting. So safe, but maybe not the most exciting flavor profile. What about storing it if you boil a kettle full?
Right, this is key. Boiling purifies it initially, but it doesn't stay sterile forever once it cools.
Makes sense.
So you need to store it in clean, sealed containers. Glass or stainless steel are good choices.
Okay.
And if you leave it out at room temperature, it's really best to use it within about 12 hours.
12 hours, okay.
Yeah, just to minimize any risk of recontamination picking up something from the air or the container.
Good practical tip. Boil what you need relatively soon. Okay, now let's move to something with maybe a bit more allure. Mineral water. What's its deal?
Mineral water is distinct because of its source,
Mm-hmm.
natural springs, underground reservoirs.
Right.
As the water travels through rock layers, it naturally dissolves minerals. That's the key difference.
So unlike tap water or even boiled water, it
Yeah.
actually comes with minerals already in it.
Exactly. Naturally occurring.
And we're talking useful stuff. Like calcium, magnesium, potassium, not just trace amounts.
Generally, yes. The specific minerals and how much depend entirely on the source geology, but good mineral water will have significant, potentially beneficial amounts.
Hmm.
And what's interesting is the form these minerals are often in, like ionic calcium, can be quite bioavailable. Your body can absorb it well.
Okay.
Plus, some mineral waters are naturally alkaline, meaning a higher pH.
Hmm.
Some people believe that helps with the body's pH balance, maybe supports bone health, heart health.
Sounds pretty good. Are there any downsides then?
A couple of things to consider. First, some brands can be quite high in sodium.
Ah, salt. Okay.
Yeah, so if you're watching your blood pressure or sodium intake generally, you need to check the label carefully.
Right.
Second, it usually costs more than tap or sparkling water. And there's the environmental aspect too, bottling, transport, all that.
So it comes down to being a savvy shopper again, reading the details.
Absolutely. Check the sodium, maybe note the source if you're interested. Okay, now we've looked at them individually, maybe we should think about practical handling once they're open or boiled.
Good idea. So sparkling water, I open a bottle. How long does the fizz last?
You'll notice it starts going flat pretty quickly. For the best bubbly experience, probably finish it within a day or two.
Okay.
Keeping it cool and dark helps a little, but yeah, 1-2 days is realistic.
And boil water, we said about 12 hours if room temp, stored properly in glass or steel with a lid. What about mineral water after opening?
Mineral water holds up a bit better. Generally, you can drink it within about 5 days after opening.
5 days. Okay.
Yeah, just keep the bottle away from heat and direct sunlight. That helps preserve the taste and mineral content best.
That's all really useful, practical stuff.
Yeah.
Now, thinking about the day, are there better times to drink each type? Or does it not really matter?
Well, there are some potential connections people make. For instance, some find starting the day with warm boiled water quite soothing.
Oh, yeah. Why is that?
It's thought to gently stimulate digestion first thing in the morning, kind of wakes up the system.
Makes sense. What about that mid-afternoon slump? When you want something refreshing but not sugary?
That could be a perfect time for sparkling water. The fizz gives you that lift, that sensory change from plain water.
Without the sugar crash?
Exactly. It might just encourage you to hydrate when you might otherwise reach for something less healthy.
And evening. Winding down.
Mineral water could be a good shout then, maybe especially if you've been active during the day.
To replace electrolytes lost through sweat.
Potentially, yeah. It can help replenish some of those minerals. But, of course, these are just ideas. Personal preference matter hugely.
Right, not hard and fast rules. More like mindful choices depending on your day. Now, speaking of guidance, we actually got some insights from a registered dietitian, Grace Chen.
Oh, brilliant. Getting that expert take is always helpful. What did she emphasize?
Well, her main point, really, was that while knowing the differences is interesting, the absolute most important thing is just consistently drinking enough water.
The consistency factor.
She basically said the healthiest water is the water you'll actually drink regularly.
That's such a key takeaway. Doesn't matter how fancy it is if you don't drink it. Did she lean towards any particular type, though?
She did acknowledge a slight edge for mineral water because of the nutrients.
Right, the calcium, magnesium.
Exactly. She said if your diet might be a bit low in those, mineral water can be a useful top-up. But she also repeated the caution about sodium.
Always check the label, especially for blood pressure concerns.
Got it. And what about people who just find plain water? Well, boring. Did she have tips for them?
She did. Her advice was basically to make it more appealing. Try unsweetened sparkling water, maybe add a squeeze of lemon, lime, some cucumber slices.
Natural flavorings?
Yeah. Or even herbal teas. They're great for flavor and hydration without the sugar.
Simple ideas, easy to try. And her #1 tip for actually building the hydration habit.
Routine, routine, routine. She suggested starting the day with a glass of water before coffee or tea.
Get it in early.
And also just keeping a water bottle visible throughout the day. That visual cue really works as a reminder to sip regularly.
Simple but effective stuff. And she had a great analogy at the end, didn't she?
Yeah, really powerful. She reminded us our brains and bodies are, around 70% water?
Something like that, yeah.
And she said to think of hydration like fuel. Fuel for your brain, fuel for your body. You need it to run properly, just like a car needs petrol. Really makes you think about how essential it is.
It really does. So wrapping this up, it sounds like, yes, all water hydrates you, but these different types, sparkling, boiled, mineral, They do have their own unique points.
Distinct benefits, potential drawbacks, yeah. And the best choice really isn't one size fits all. It depends on you, your needs, your preferences, even what time of day it is.
Exactly. It's about knowing the options and making choices that fit your body and your lifestyle.
Being informed.
Right. So maybe next time you reach for water, just pause for a second. Given your brain and body are mostly water,
Mm-hmm.
how could being a bit more intentional about the type you choose actually impact how you feel, how you perform?
Whether it's the fizz, the purity, or the minerals, it's definitely something interesting to mull over.